Why the most foolish people end up in power. Machiavelli knew this introduction, the paradox of power. Picture a world where the wisest, most compassionate, and most capable among us rise to the top, guiding society toward progress, harmony, and prosperity. It's a beautiful dream, isn't it? A world where leaders are chosen for their intellect, integrity, and vision. Now snap out of it. The reality is far messier, often darker, and maddeningly counterintuitive. Time and again, history shows us that power doesn't always or even often land in the hands of the competent or the virtuous. Instead, it's frequently the foolish, the cunning, or the downright ruthless who climb the ladder to the top, leaving us to wonder why. How do people who seem so ill-equipped for leadership end up wielding it? And what did a 16th century Italian philosopher, Niccolò Machiavelli, understand about this phenomenon that still holds true in our modern world? This isn't just a philosophical musing or a historical curiosity. It's a deep dive into the mechanics of power, the quirks of human nature, and the surprising reasons why the most foolish people often end up ruling the roost. From the courts of Renaissance Italy to the boardrooms and political stages of today, the patterns are eerily consistent. Machiavelli and his seminal work, The Prince, laid bare the uncomfortable truth. Power isn't about being the best. It's about being the most effective at seizing and holding it. And the foolish, with their audacity, lack of self-doubt, and knack for spectacle, often excel at this game. In this exploration, we'll unravel the paradox of why folly so often trumps wisdom in the pursuit of power. We'll dissect the psychology of leadership, the systems that enable the foolish to rise, and the lessons Machiavelli left us to navigate this chaotic reality. By the end, you'll not only understand why the foolish end up in power, but also how we as a society can start to change the game. So let's embark on this journey through the underbelly of leadership, where ambition, deception, and sheer bravado often outshine reason and virtue. The allure of power, why fools have an edge power, is magnetic. It draws people in like moths to a flame, promising control, status, and the ability to shape the world. But here's the twist. The path to power doesn't always favor the sharpest minds or the purest hearts. In fact, it often rewards those who are willing to play dirtier, shout louder, or simply stumble into the spotlight through sheer persistence or dumb luck. Machiavelli understood this dynamic better than most. In The Prince, he argued that power isn't a meritocracy. It's a game of strategy, opportunity, and often audacity. And the foolish, unburdened by overthinking or moral qualms, have a surprising advantage in this arena: the audacity of folly. Why do the foolish thrive in the pursuit of power? For one, they're unencumbered by self-doubt. While the wise might hesitate, weighing consequences, analyzing risks, or grappling with ethical dilemmas, the foolish charge forward with reckless confidence. They don't lose sleep over the complexities of their decisions or the potential fallout of their actions. This audacity can be mistaken for strength, especially in high-stakes environments where decisive action is valued over careful deliberation. Think of the politician who makes grandiose promises they can't possibly keep: free healthcare, endless prosperity, or instant solutions to age-old problems. Or consider the corporate climber who takes credit for a team's work without a shred of shame. Their lack of self-awareness becomes a strange kind of superpower. They're not paralyzed by the fear of failure or the weight of responsibility. Instead, they act, speak, and maneuver with a boldness that can outshine more thoughtful competitors. Machiavelli saw this clearly. He argued that fortuna, fortune or luck, plays a massive role in who rises to power. The foolish, with their knack for being in the right place at the right time, often ride this wave of fortune better than their cautious counterparts. They leap into opportunities without overanalyzing, and sometimes that's enough to propel them to the top. As Machiavelli wrote, "Fortune is a woman, and if you wish to keep her under, it is necessary to beat and ill-use her." The foolish, in their brashness, are often better at seizing fortune's fleeting opportunities than the wise, who might wait for the perfect moment that never comes. The power of simplicity. Another reason the foolish excel is their ability to simplify the complex. In a world of uncertainty, whether it's a political crisis, economic turmoil, or social upheaval, people crave clarity. The foolish leader, unburdened by nuance, offers it in spades. They speak in absolutes, promise simple solutions, and project an aura of certainty that's intoxicating to followers, desperate for direction. This simplicity, even if it borders on ignorance, resonates. Machiavelli noted that appearances often matter more than reality in the game of power. A leader who seems strong, decisive, and charismatic can inspire loyalty, even if their decisions are reckless or poorly thought out. The foolish are naturals at this performance. They don't get bogged down by the intricacies of truth or the weight of responsibility. They deliver bold proclamations, craft compelling narratives, and exude confidence, even when it's unfounded. And the crowd, hungry for certainty, eats it up. Take modern populist leaders as an example. These figures often rise not because they have the best policies, but because they tap into raw emotions, anger, fear, hope, with a clarity and fervor that more nuanced voices struggle to match. Their slogans are catchy, their promises are bold, and their flaws are overlooked in the heat of the moment. Machiavelli would nod knowingly. He advised rulers to prioritize being feared or loved over being wise because emotions, not intellect, drive human behavior. The psychology of folly, why we follow the foolish. To understand why the foolish end up in power, we need to look beyond their actions and into the minds of those who elevate them. Why do people follow leaders who, in hindsight, seem so clearly unfit? The answer lies in the psychology of leadership and the quirks of human nature that Machiavelli understood so well. The appeal of certainty. In times of crisis or uncertainty, people don't want complexity, they want answers. The foolish leader's greatest strength is their ability to project unshakable certainty, even if it's rooted in ignorance. This confidence is magnetic. It reassures followers, calms their fears, and gives them a sense of direction, even if it's a false one. The wise, by contrast, often come across as hesitant or overly cautious, bogged down by the nuances of reality. Their measured responses can feel weak or indecisive in comparison. Machiavelli recognized this. He wrote that the masses are taken in by appearances and by the outcome of a thing. A leader who projects strength, even if it's a facade, can win loyalty more easily than one who speaks the truth but lacks charisma. The foolish excel at this game of appearances. They don't let facts or doubts get in the way of a good story. And in a world where perception often trumps reality, that's a powerful advantage. The seduction of charisma is another weapon in the foolish leader's arsenal. Charismatic leaders, even if they lack substance, have a knack for inspiring devotion. They tell people what they want to hear, flatter their egos, and make them feel seen. The foolish, with their unfiltered enthusiasm and lack of self-consciousness, often exude this charisma naturally. They're not afraid to make bold promises or paint themselves as saviors, even if their track record suggests otherwise. Machiavelli understood the power of charisma even if he didn't use the word. He advised rulers to cultivate the love of the people, knowing that emotional connection often outweighs competence in securing loyalty. The foolish leader, with their knack for storytelling and emotional manipulation, often excels at this. They create a cult of personality, drawing followers into their orbit with promises of greatness or visions of a better future. The role of fear and flattery. Machiavelli famously said that it's better to be feared than loved, but ideally, a leader should be both. The foolish leader often leans on fear and flattery to maintain power. They're not afraid to intimidate rivals or punish dissenters, creating an aura of dominance that discourages challenge. At the same time, they're masters of flattery, appealing to the egos of their followers and making them feel special or chosen. This combination is potent. The foolish leader's lack of moral restraint allows them to wield fear and flattery with equal ease, manipulating those around them to stay loyal. They don't worry about the long-term consequences of their actions. They're focused on the immediate payoff. And in the short term, this strategy often works. The machinery of power, systems that reward folly. If foolish people keep ending up in power, it's not just because of their audacity or charisma. The systems we've built, political, corporate, social, are often designed in ways that amplify their success. Let's break down how these systems enable the rise of the foolish. The power of visibility. In any competitive arena, standing out is half the battle. The foolish are often masters of self-promotion, unafraid to exaggerate their achievements or make bold claims. In politics, this might mean dominating headlines with outrageous statements or viral stunts. In business, it could be the executive who hogs the spotlight with flashy presentations while contributing little substance. Our media-saturated world amplifies this. Sensationalism sells, and the foolish are natural showmen. Machiavelli understood the importance of visibility. He advised rulers to appear great and remarkable in the eyes of the people, even if their actions didn't always match the image. The foolish, with their knack for spectacle, excel at this. They're not afraid to make noise, take risks, or court controversy, anything to keep the spotlight on them. The failure of gatekeeping. In theory, systems like elections, corporate hierarchies, or social institutions should filter out the incompetent. In practice, they often reward those who game the system. Machiavelli pointed out that power often goes to those who are willing to bend the rules, flatter the right people, or exploit divisions. The foolish, unencumbered by scruples, are often better at this than the wise. They'll make promises they can't keep, cut deals behind closed doors, or stab allies in the back without hesitation. Take modern politics as an example. Elections are supposed to select the most qualified candidates, but they often reward those who are best at campaigning, not governing. The foolish leader, with their knack for sound bites and emotional appeals, can outshine a more competent but less charismatic rival. Similarly, In corporate settings, promotions often go to those who master office politics, not those who do the best work. The role of followers. Ultimately, leaders are only as powerful as the people who follow them. The foolish leader thrives because they appeal to our baser instincts, our desire for certainty, our susceptibility to flattery, or our willingness to overlook flaws in exchange for a compelling story. Machiavelli was blunt about this. The masses are easily swayed by appearances and short-term gains. A leader who promises the moon, even if they're clueless about how to deliver it, can win hearts and minds long enough to seize power. This dynamic is amplified in the age of social media, where followers can amplify a leader's message to millions in an instant. The foolish leader, with their knack for viral moments and emotional triggers, can build a following faster than a more thoughtful counterpart. They don't need to be right, they just need to be loud. Machiavelli's playbook, The Art of Seizing Power. Machiavelli's The Prince is often misunderstood as a guide for ruthless tyrants, but it's really a clear-eyed analysis of how power works. He didn't endorse folly, but he recognized that it often succeeds where wisdom fails. Let's look at some of his key insights and how they explain the rise of the foolish. Fortune and opportunity. Machiavelli likened fortune to a river that can destroy everything in its path unless you build defenses beforehand. The foolish often succeed because they seize opportunities without overthinking. They're not afraid to take risks, even reckless ones, and sometimes fortune smiles on them. A classic example is the politician who rides a wave of public discontent to power, capitalizing on a moment of crisis without a clear plan for what comes next. Deception and appearances. Machiavelli famously said, "It's better to appear virtuous than to actually be virtuous." The foolish leader often excels at this, projecting confidence and moral superiority while hiding their flaws. They're not weighed down by the need to align their actions with their words. This ability to manipulate perceptions is key to their success, especially in environments where scrutiny is shallow and image is everything. Manipulation of loyalty power depends on loyalty, but loyalty is fickle. The foolish leader often secures it through fear, flattery, or promises of reward. They're not afraid to lie or betray to keep their followers in line. Machiavelli admired this pragmatism, even if it was morally dubious. He argued that a ruler must be willing to do whatever it takes to maintain power, even if it means being seen as cruel or dishonest. Adaptability. The foolish may lack deep understanding, but they're often adaptable, shifting their stance to suit the moment. This chameleon-like quality lets them navigate complex social and political landscapes, outmaneuvering rivals who are stuck in their principles. Machiavelli praised this flexibility, noting that a successful leader must be both a lion, bold and forceful, and a fox, cunning and adaptable. These principles aren't just historical relics, they're alive and well today. Look at the corporate world, where executives climb the ranks by mastering office politics rather than technical expertise. Or consider politics, where candidates win elections by crafting compelling narratives, not by presenting detailed policy plans. The foolish, in their simplicity, often play this game better than the wise. The cost of foolish leadership. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What happens when the foolish actually get to power? The results can be catastrophic. Incompetent leaders, unchecked by wisdom or restraint, often make decisions that prioritize short-term gains over long-term stability. History is littered with examples: emperors who bankrupted empires, kings who sparked wars, CEOs who tanked companies, and politicians who sowed division or economic collapse. Machiavelli wasn't blind to this. He warned that while cunning and audacity can win power, holding on to it requires at least some competence. The foolish leader who relies solely on bluster will eventually be exposed. Their policies fail, their alliances crumble, and their followers turn on them. But here's the tragedy. By the time this happens, the damage is often done. Societies, companies, or institutions can take years, even decades, to recover from the fallout of foolish leadership. Consider historical examples like Nero, the Roman emperor whose erratic rule and obsession with spectacle led to chaos and rebellion. Or look at modern cases like corporate scandals where charismatic but incompetent leaders drove their companies into the ground. The pattern is clear. The qualities that help the foolish seize power, boldness, charisma, manipulation, are often the same ones that lead to their downfall. Why the cycle persists? If foolish leadership is so destructive, why does the cycle keep repeating? The answer lies in human nature and the systems we've built. We, as a society, keep falling for the same tricks. We're dazzled by charisma, swayed by promises, and too quick to forgive incompetence if it's wrapped in a good story. Machiavelli would argue that this is simply how humans are wired: emotional, impressionable, and prone to being manipulated. Moreover, our systems often reward short-term spectacle over long-term stability. Elections favor candidates who can win votes, not necessarily those who can govern well. Corporate promotions often go to those who impress the right people, not those who do the best work. And in the age of social media, where attention is currency, the foolish leader's knack for viral moments gives them an edge over more substantive rivals. Machiavelli's realism forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The rise of the foolish isn't an accident. It's a feature of the systems we've created. Until we change those systems, or at least learn to see through the tricks of the foolish, the cycle will continue. Breaking the cycle, can wisdom prevail? So, is there a way out of this mess? Can we build systems that reward wisdom over folly? It's not easy, but it's possible. Here are some strategies, grounded in Machiavelli's realism, but tempered with hope for a better future. Demand transparency. Foolish leaders thrive in opaque systems where appearances trump reality. By demanding accountability through a free press, independent audits, or open elections, we can expose incompetence before it does too much damage. Transparency forces leaders to back up their promises with results, making it harder for the foolish to hide their flaws. Value substance over style. We need to train ourselves to look past charisma and focus on results. This means prioritizing leaders who demonstrate competence, not just confidence. It's harder than it sounds, especially in a world where emotions often outweigh reason. But by cultivating critical thinking and skepticism of easy answers, we can start to shift the balance. Build better gatekeepers. Institutions, whether governments, corporations, or communities, need mechanisms to filter out the unqualified. This could mean stricter vetting processes, merit-based promotions, or checks and balances to limit the damage a single leader can do. For example, strong institutions like an independent judiciary or a robust board of directors can act as a brake on foolish leadership. Educate the masses. Machiavelli believed the masses could be manipulated, but he also saw their potential for discernment. An educated, engaged populace is less likely to fall for the tricks of a foolish leader. Knowledge is power's greatest counterweight. By investing in education and encouraging civic participation, we can create a society that's harder to fool. Reward, long-term thinking. Our systems often incentivize short-term gains over long-term stability. Elections reward candidates who make bold promises, not those who plan for the future. Corporate bonuses often go to executives who boost stock prices, not those who build sustainable businesses. By realigning incentives to prioritize long-term outcomes, we can create an environment where wisdom has a better chance to thrive. These solutions aren't foolproof. Human nature is messy, and power will always attract the ambitious, the cunning, and the foolish. But by understanding the dynamics Machiavelli laid out, we can at least tilt the odds in favor of wiser leadership. Machiavelli's enduring lesson. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't sugarcoat the world. He saw it for what it was, a place where power often rewards the bold, the cunning, and yes, the foolish. His insights, forged in the cutthroat politics of Renaissance Italy, still hold a mirror to our modern world. The foolish rise to power not because they're better, but because they're better at playing the game, seizing opportunities, manipulating perceptions, and exploiting human nature. But Machiavelli's lesson isn't just about accepting the world's flaws. It's about navigating them with clear eyes and a steady hand. By understanding why the foolish succeed, we can start to change the rules of the game. We can demand more from our leaders, build systems that prioritize competence, and cultivate a society that values wisdom over spectacle. The next time you see a foolish leader rise to power, don't just shake your head in disbelief. Ask yourself, what part of the system let this happen? And what can we do to make sure the next time it's the wise who wear the crown? Because if Machiavelli knew one thing, it's this: power isn't just taken, it's given. And we have the power to decide who gets it.